Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel we're sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. It is morning time, it is morning chore time, and I'm getting ready to go, I'm going outside to feed the chickens that we have outside. I'm going to do a couple different things this morning, and I wanted to kind of bring you along for some of the progress that we have going on and learning, changing the way I'm doing things daily, and just trying to figure out what's best and what works best for us. So, okay, so the first thing that I do a little bit differently is I ferment the feed that I give them. So I've been slowly trying to figure out how best to actually feed fermented food to the birds, and I have not been able to figure that out just yet. So the best thing that I've found so far are these bowls, but these don't really work that well because they get in them. They're little, but it's the best thing that I can find so far. It's the only thing that will get them to actually consume the food that I give them. The other feeds that I use, they don't, or the other, like the trough style and things like that. I can't use the aluminum ones because it's fermented feed and it could leach metals from it. And I can't find a stainless steel trough. Oops, alarm going off. I can't find a stainless steel trough in my area. I might try and look online. I think that would work better. But for now, these bowls seem to be the best because they can actually get their beaks all the way in there. They do stand on it, but also the other feeders, like the top down feeders, they don't dispense the food. Once it gets past what's actually in the trough, it doesn't go down any further. So if you guys have any advice or any things that you do, if you guys ferment feed or you know anybody who ferments feed and has a good time feeding broiler chicks their feed, please let me know how they do it. I would love to get different comments and ways of how people do it. So, move it, birds. Move it. See what I mean? They're just pooping it. But I see so many people online who use these and they don't have much issue. Maybe they just don't care about the poop that the birds consume. I don't know. Okay. I know another option is also to I know another option is to also go ahead and just put it on the floor, on the ground, and I may end up doing that actually, but for now we're going to stick with this. I got my spatula. And this is only fermented for 2 days. It should be 3, but 2 days is what we got for now. And another thing that I would really, really love to know, it seems like there's a big difference between feeding grains to broilers versus egg layers. And egg layers are just less ferocious and less, everybody attack the food immediately until it's all gone. The egg layers seem to be at least a little less like that. So if you guys have, I don't know how much to feed them. I'm just kind of winging it and hoping I can figure it out based on their weights and how they're growing and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just planning on I'm about to switch them over to the feed that we're fermenting. We're going to start the fermentation on today is going to be the actual broiler mix. And this is a Scratch and Peck brand, which is fairly local to here. So we're just using the Scratch and Peck. It's whole grains. And I just realized I forgot the chick grit. Darn it. Okay, so let's go get the grit. Ooh. Okay. So if you have any advice on what you feed your broilers if you're fermenting the feed, because it's a different quantity when you're fermenting it. You're not supposed to need to feed them quite as much. So if you could let me know what you guys feed your chicks, your broiler chicks, if you ferment your feed, please let me know. I would love it. Okay, so chick grit. And again, this is the brand of the grain, the feed that I use. It's all organic. I mean, I don't think you can make organic rocks, but the rest of the stuff is organic. I just kind of sprinkle some on there. It's nothing crazy. Because since I do feed them a whole grain feed, it's a little more important. Everybody at the feed store and people online and stuff like that, they all say that the grit is a little more important since I'm feeding them the whole grains. If you're feeding them pellets and stuff, you may be able to get by with much less, if any, but since I'm feeding them the whole grains, it is much more important. Okay. Okay, you ready for the madness? I meant to move it first. Order of operations here. I don't think I'm going to get that away from them anytime soon. Oh well, I'll move them tomorrow. Here's some different feed, you guys. See, this one figured it out. He's got his own bowl. Everybody else is fighting for the same one. Nope. Somebody else found it. Nope. There we go. See? These rangers are smart. Except for that one that's in the bowl. There we go. Now we're just going to go ahead and ferment the feed that we're going to be using in 3 days. Too much stuff. And you can see my palette project kind of got on hold because I overlooked one simple thing, and that is that the mirror image of each of the walls, each of the sections has to be the same length in order to get the crossbar to cross. So I have to make 4 more walls that are mirror images of these ones so that I can actually assemble them correctly. Okay. These jars down so we can clean them. Basically what we have here is the Scratch and Peck brand. I transferred it over to these buckets for better storage because once upon a time we did have, oh, my hair is all kinds of interesting, isn't it? Once upon a time we had mice and stuff in the shed, and we don't want to have that happen again. It was only a couple. We just found them in traps. We never actually saw them alive, and so we're just careful. We want to make sure that our hard-earned, paid-for feed doesn't go to waste and actually goes to the birds. So basically what I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to get them 5 pounds of feed. And I have 20 meat birds, and that's about 1/4 pound per bird, and that's kind of the bare minimum that people suggest, and so we're going to do that and go from there. So that takes 13 cups. All I have is this one, so we're just going to use this and try and do as best as we can. The way that Homesteading Family fermented their feed is awesome, and I really like that system for the type of feed that they have. My feed comes with a bunch of like minerals and a bunch, you can see, I don't know if you can see it, it's a bunch of like little sandy powdery type stuff, and if I were to dump off the water I would lose all of those minerals, so I can't dump off the water. So in about 3 days, I'm gonna have to have something figured out for this. So. It's 13 and a third, so an extra cup won't hurt, will it? Okay, so we have our grain. You can see kind of the line there. And I'm gonna find some kind of a scoop or just kind of winging it right now. So then all we're gonna do is we're just gonna cover it with water. Stir. Okay. So we have it covered by enough water. I'm gonna figure out the ratios and everything that are gonna go with this much more specifically, like the perfect amount of water and stuff. I'm gonna etch it and write it onto the actual bucket once I find it. But for now, I'm gonna write this on the bucket. Because I don't know if you can actually see in here, but you can see kind of where the food settled right about here. And then there's about a good, I don't know what that is, 1.25 inches maybe of water on top of it. So I'm actually going to add just a little bit more water because I want to make sure that all the feed stays underneath the water. Just same principle as in fermenting. You don't want the actual food to touch the air. This is a short-term ferment, so it's a little bit less important. But it is also a ferment with a lot of carbs in it because there's a lot of corn and all kinds of stuff in there, so it can ferment more quickly. And this lid is not even close to fitting, apparently. Did I grab the wrong kind of lid? Oh, nope. So this lid is not even close to airtight, so I'm not worried about putting it on, like closing it on there. So we're just gonna put this stuff, and probably tonight when I get home from work, I'm gonna clear an actual, like an appropriate spot in the garage that I can actually keep this stuff, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I am getting ready to actually head to work. I have a couple more little bitty chores that I need to do for the inside birds. A lot of the chores are going to be changing. We're moving the inside birds outside. You'll see that vlog separately. We're going to put those into the garage because they still have a little bit left. They have most of their feathers. They don't have their head feathers yet, and I need to actually build them an actual coop or a tractor or something like that they can go into outside. Right now we don't have that, so we're going to move them out to the garage to a larger space that is out of our house. And let me show you why. Okay. So you can probably see this. I don't know if you can actually. So if you guys can see this on the camera here, let me see if you can. Yeah, like literally everything that we own in this living room and some other parts of the house as well are completely covered in this like pine dust, and we're done with it. We're just gonna go ahead and get them outside. Some little baby chicks that we have, when we first get them, we'll probably keep them inside for a couple weeks, but they don't really make a whole lot of dust, or for a week or so before we move them outside. They don't really make a tremendous amount of dust space or dust in the first couple weeks, so I'm not too worried about that.